What's up with it? What's up with it? It's your boy Synthero in the Field Podcast, and this is In the Field Reaction. Right now, we doing New York City cannabis. So this is a guy named White Boy Cav. He used to live in Washington Heights, and he's like one of the founders or the founder of New York City cannabis, which is haze. If anybody know, haze was the number one weed in the New York City in the 90s. Purple haze. You had purple haze, and then you had Poulet. When Poulet came, it was another grade of haze, which was another higher level. So they called it Poulet. And then you had the haze. The regular haze became blockwork, the word that they use now all over the world, all over the New York City areas, everywhere. Blockwork, blockwork. Blockwork was haze. It was just the shit that moves faster on the street, which is blockwork. And it was a little cheaper because they had the Poulet haze that was the new grade, the new strain that was stronger. Anyway, let's get right into it. This White Boy Kev talking about Washington Heights and his time coming up. And he is the founder of New York City Haze and the exclusive club. If you know, you know, La Marina in the Heights. It was crazy. I was living in Washington Heights when that shit was up the roof. Movie theater. Let's get into it.
You know, the kids from the neighborhood grew up there. They end up taking over and they got the neighborhood. And, you know, it was a high deal. At one point, I think Washington Heights was the murder capital of the world. And that was around like 88. And the murders were just out of control. But it wasn't because the neighborhood wasn't safe, because people were like, it was like drug dealers were getting robbed. Yeah, you know, like drug dealers killing other drug dealers. You know, there was so much money in the 80s. Like with the crack epidemic, it was just absolutely bananas. We go out to a club, everybody meet up on a corner on 163rd, and there'd be 40, 50 guys getting ready to go out to the club, and everybody had a G in their pocket, if not more. Like, everybody made money. Now, the Heights, like, the corners are dead. Like, the game has changed so much, the streets,
Shit.
you know, like, everybody's a weed dealer now. You know
That's
what I'm
a
saying?
fact.
Like every kid with a backpack is selling weed. Everybody's so cool because they're weed dealers. But back in the days, you know, like, not everybody, but some people looked at me like I was a crack
Yeah,
dealer
like you
because I
almost was a
sold
drug.
weed.
You was a
You know,
dope
so
dealer
now
when you
you come
sold
out and
bud back
now,
in the
oh
day.
shit, you're OG, whatever. You know, it wasn't like that back in the day.
Definitely wasn't. That's a fact. When you
I
were
did a
selling this
successful
shit,
business
niggas looked at you
in
weird.
'99 with my brother. We did the Marina.
La Marina.
The Marina is probably
Woo!
the
If you
most
know, you
iconic,
know.
like, Dominican spot. You know, it was two Irish brothers that did it. Me and my brother. I brought in all the bands from Dominican Republic, Toño Rosa.
So it wasn't Dominicans. It was Irish brothers. It was which one Irish brother really who came in, but it was an Irish brother who was living there because he said a lot of Irish people migrated from Washington Heights in the 70s, I believe, and and some Dominicans started coming in. He said around the late 80s, early 90s, Dominicans flooded it out, but he was the founder.
Mario, Sergio Vargas. I was paying the guy from Aventura. His name is Romeo
Aventura,
Santos. Now he's a huge star.
a
I was paying
monster.
him $3,000 for a show.
$3,000.
Now that guy sells out Madison Square
Now he's
Garden
selling out the
7 days
garden.
in a week. And that was the music I had. And on Sundays, I'd get 1,500, 2,000 people inside and another 1,000 people outside trying to come in. It was a matinee from like...
La Marina was a movie. I'm telling you, movie theater. That nigga French Montana pulled up to that shit in a yacht. If you could see that, the pier and all that shit is there. So this is the setup. I mean, crazy. He pulled up in a yacht, shut it down.
12 to 12. So we were doing great. So, you know, at that point, once the Marina
Top
was
of the
doing
morning,
well,
wake and bake.
I cut off from being on the corners because now I'm trying to transition and then get put under federal investigation and the joint task force with NYPD.
So that part of La Marina was crazy. We're going to go back into, let me just slide this up here, let y'all know exactly what's what. Let's get into it.
Up there. So I started selling weed probably around 91, somewhere around there.
91.
And then 93 Haze came about.
93 was Hayes.
Well,
The birth of
basically,
Hayes was 93.
my whole neighborhood, everybody else was Dominican. It was just me. That's why it's white boy Kev. You know, like I was the white boy. Un blanquito, that's how everybody knew. My wife is Dominican. My kids are half Dominican. All my friends are Dominican.
They turned them out.
You know, like, and then I would say there was some Dominican families, but I would say around like 83. Somewhere around there, that's when like an influx came in.
83 was one of the best years ever in history.
It just became a predominantly Dominican neighborhood. But, you know, everything's getting gentrified here in the city. So it's the restaurants, the
NFL reactions, NFL podcasts.
It's a safer neighborhood in Washington Heights now, for sure.
The Heights was crazy. I mean, it was a jungle.
Washington Heights was a high-class ghetto. You know,
it was a high-class ghetto. When I started going to the Heights in the mid-90s, going to get that haze from Dykeman, from Autobahn, from Post, it was crazy. Getting a 20 was like picking up a gun. And if you get caught with the 20, it was like having a gun. It was crazy. Like, I mean, yo, niggas was going there for a clip 2-3 days. Dead ass.
Back in the days, like, my mother would get off of